What if each district in Panem from the Hunger Games had a Pokemon team of its own? That's right, just like I did last year for the Avatar franchise, today we're combining yet another fictional universe with Pokemon. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is out at the time of this video's release, and I swear I'm not sponsored, I just really like the Hunger Games. Not only because the initial books rose to popularity when I was a teenager, and were a great introduction and commentary to surprisingly deep real-world issues like class inequality, entertainment and social control, and political rebellion, but because the world of the Hunger Games is actually really nicely fleshed out. We don't just get one generic, massive lower class being oppressed by those in power. It's a nation divided into 12, or technically 13, districts, based on various industries that serve the capital, which ultimately leaves residents of these districts distinct from those in others, both ideologically and skill-wise. So that got me thinking, what if we crafted Pokemon teams based not on individual characters, but on the identities of the districts as a whole? I limited it to 4 Pokemon per district to keep it succinct, and these Pokemon could have been chosen for any combination of a metaphorical symbol of the district, perhaps like an equivalent to a state animal, common Pokemon that would live in the habitats of the districts, fair to pinpoint since each district is canonically based on a US region, or more interestingly, Pokemon that would live alongside humans in these districts and serve as helpful tools to aid that district's primary industrial functions. For example, would District 12 benefit from Chatot to serve as a coal mine canary, or a Sneasler to help pick away at mining operations using its claws? Let's find out and dive in, starting with District 1. It's the richest of all the outlying territories, and it's not entirely clear where it's located. However, we'd know that they'd have quite the team, a mix of Pokemon known for their beauty, and adjacent role to luxury manufacturing, alongside a few Pokemon that would assist with combat training, since this district is known to produce many well-trained tributes for the games. For industry, perhaps District 1 could commonly play host to both Carbink and Aromatisse, 2 Pokemon that naturally produce valuable gemstones and fragrances that would serve the export demand from capital citizens. To showcase this district's value placed upon the training of career tributes, perhaps schools and academies commonly feature both Lucario and Lopunny, 2 Pokemon one could associate with high-class society and who are fierce physical combatants in their own right as well. I imagine this district is highly urbanized, and all these Pokemon live alongside humans in major cities. Moving on to District 2, which flanks District 1 and the capital in the southern half of the Rocky Mountains. This district has a more clear-cut industry through masonry, which is the art of bricklaying, and it also has many stone quarries, and as a rich district, it's also combat-heavy, dabbling in weapons manufacturing, peacekeeper, and more career tribute training. Now that's quite a lot for our team of 4. But we've got a good balance through the very physical Conkeldurr, who would be used all across the district for stone quarry projects, bricklaying and construction, and even combat practice. Bisharp would also be a great ally and sparring partner for those training to become peacekeepers, weapons experts, or career tributes due to its tactical expertise, both strategic and brutal. For mining at the quarries, Steelix would be a powerful ally, alongside Bastiodon, whose rock and steel typing, status as a rare fossil Pokemon in this affluent district, and use as a riot barrier by peacekeepers because it's a literal wall, would fit perfectly with the culture and industry of District 2. District 3 has another nondescript location, but it is highly urbanized and industrialized, focusing almost entirely on technological production and innovation, like all the futuristic products that we see throughout the franchise. We can touch them all generally with Rotom, who could inhabit and enhance computers of all kinds to bolster productivity. We also have Metagross, whose supersized brain would be a necessary tool to run calculations, devote server space to, and give enough processing power for very ambitious technological research. Porygon Z would also excel in building intricate holographic simulations and environments for training purposes, to sharpen these skills of tributes, or these could be used to model simulations for research purposes when it comes to other technology. Lastly, a good population of Electivire would be a great source of near-limitless power to fuel all of these developments. For District 4, we've got a vast coastal region, roughly corresponding to the Pacific Coast and the Pacific Northwest. Here, the industry revolves around fishing and seafood production, so lots of water-type Pokemon and Pokemon that would help this practice. Barraskewda most closely resembles a fishing spear or a trident, so I imagine this Pokemon would be plentiful in the waters of District 4 and would provide all the inspiration for the tridents commonly used by residents. Veluza would be plentiful as well, a common food source known for its flesh, which can be regenerated by the Pokemon almost instantaneously, which is pretty convenient. I can also see Sharpedo living in these coastal waters, a brutal fighter, and perhaps a rideable Pokemon to navigate the landscape. Lastly, Empoleon would be a common companion to give District 4 tributes a good training partner for marine combat. I mean, it has a trident on its face. Now we move to District 5, an area in the southwest desert known for its production of vast electrical grids and power sources, including a hydroelectric dam that may allude to or be a futuristic version of the Hoover Dam. First and foremost, I think Electrode would be commonplace here, since they're pretty much vessels of electrical power storage, and they can serve as emergency backup systems. Heliolisk would be common sights in the desert landscape, and would be used to generate solar energy due to their specialized frills. Rotom Wash form would also be a great pick, as they could assist with hydroelectric power production and could also possess these devices to troubleshoot any blockages or errors. Lastly, a strong Pokemon with electricity flowing through its veins, like Manectric, would be a great companion to keep around, both to regulate electrical distribution and prevent deadly surges or blackouts. District 6 is located somewhere around the Great Lakes, and is an industrialized district known for being a hub of transportation, with lots of building of cargo trains and hovercrafts that go all around the nation. No doubt Klinklang would be commonplace, lending themselves as the gears used in a variety of trains and other motorized vehicles, alongside their roles speeding up production in assembly factories for these transportation components. I figure as living gears they could slot into pretty much any kind of machinery. I also think some kind of efficient labor would be vital in the form of Machamp, who could use all 4 arms to haul cargo on and off of trains each day. Corviknight is also there to shuffle both people and cargo in the skies, and could brave turbulent weather and long distances due to its steely body. And finally, a few helpful Galvantula would no doubt provide enough power for mass-scale railway electrification. District 7 would be the northernmost district, located in the dense forests of present-day Washington, Montana, British Columbia, and Alberta. It supplies the majority of the nation's lumber needs, so we need plenty of Pokemon that could assist with logging or thrive in such an arboreal environment. Is there any better first pick than Kleavor? This Pokemon's axe blades for hands would prove to be extremely useful in cutting down trees of any size. For similar situations, let's use Farfetch'd, who we know uses its leek almost like an axe or a sword to cut down plants and other objects, and it's one of the few Pokemon to naturally learn the HM cut. Perhaps these dense woods would also be home to Trevenant, who would protect the forest and ensure responsible wood harvesting practices. And how about the original woodcutter, Bibarel the Beaver? These seem like fitting companions in District 7 towns, and the logs they chew down could be harvested naturally. District 8, located in the upper south region of Missouri and Tennessee, is not super well known in the canon of the franchise, but we do know that it's the center of Panem's textile production, meaning any kind of woven fabric. Right away, let's get the 2 Master Weaver Pokemon, Leavanny and Spidops. Both these Pokemon could use the silk they produce in dense, intricate fashions for a variety of purposes, and could have taught early District 8 residents how to make the most of these materials. Dubwool would be an excellent source of wool used for yarn, another type of textile commonly manufactured here. Finally, let's include Scyther, whose razor-sharp scythes could be used to precisely shave off the wool of a Dubwool, cut textiles in factory settings, or perhaps cull natural fibers from crops grown around the district. District 9 is a massive area at the center of the nation where the Great Plains once were, fittingly specializing heavily in grain production to feed Panem. In this vast open prairie, I think the foremost companion would be Go-Goat, who could be rideable to traverse farmlands, plow fields with ease, and even fertilize these fields using the seeds and grass on its back. Sunflora would likely be a common sight and companion on farms all around, perhaps getting in the way, or perhaps being helpful and dispersing seeds for planting. Assisting in these farming operations would be the common Dugtrio, whose natural digging behavior turns over and aerates the soil, so it almost builds out swaths of farmable land automatically. And of course, with all that grain being harvested, it's no wonder that Dockspun would be abundant in households all across District 9. District 10 compromises a vast swath of arid ranchland in western Texas and northeastern Mexico, and it's where you'd find the heart of Panem's livestock production. This is a pretty easy group to pinpoint, starting with the bovine Pokemon Tauros. This Pokemon is both rideable to traverse the vast landscape and could be harvested for leather and meat, though not much more than its counterpart Miltank, who would provide both meat and dairy to Panem residents. Mareep is the perfect supplier of wool, said to grow back completely in less than a week. And to herd all of these farm Pokemon, District 10 residents would often keep the herding dog Pokemon Herdier as a faithful companion. As we reach the end, District 11, located in what remains of the coastal south and deep south, would be home to the agricultural industry, First and foremost, Whimsicott would be naturally abundant here, due to the growth of cotton in the southeast, and its history of mass production. Cherrim would also be a great resident of this region due to the extremely warm and sunny climate, prompting this Pokemon to blossom and spread sweet scents that aid plant growth. Speaking of which, how about Applin? There are no doubt orchards all around, where Applin makes their home. Lastly, a large draft horse like Mudsdale could help out with plowing by using Rototiller as its signature move, as well as hauling other heavy materials from farm to farm and transporting harvested goods back to town. Of all the main districts, we reach the end with District 12, the poorest and most rural of them all, located in the ridges and valleys of the mountainous Appalachia, dotted with overgrown forests and plenty of caves, where coal mining takes place. We can't possibly leave out Colossal, a gargantuan resident of these caves, and it's surprisingly friendly, providing District 12 residents with hot coal to brave the tough winter months, in a district that often lacks electricity or gas supply. There's no better mining companion than the powerful Excadrill, who is known to assist humans in complex drilling operations. Rhyhorn would be a domestic companion depended upon for its ability to smash rocks, hauling equipment on its back like a mule, and would naturally live in these tunnels anyway. Finally, the fiery Fletchender is an excellent stand-in for a canary in a coal mine, used to detect harmful gases and alert the miners to avoid disaster. It's also fitting due to its resemblance to the Mockingjay emblem found in District 12 culture, which became the symbol of rebellion during the events of the original trilogy. To end today's video, we turn to the mysterious and powerful District 13, once thought to be fully destroyed by the capital, but is now existing as an independent nation-state underground, harnessing near-limitless nuclear power and weapons arsenals of its own. I imagine such an elusive and tech-savvy district would have access to rare Paradox Pokemon, leading off with Iron Moth. I believe the poison typing of this moth actually might be a reference to the harmful properties of nuclear energy, so this Pokemon could be used in the district as chambers, carrying nuclear tech themselves, perhaps as weapons. Magmortar could be used to generate nuclear fission for these weapons. The blasts of over 2,000 degrees Celsius that it emits is staggeringly 4 times the heat at the core of a nuclear reaction in real life. We'd also need a fleet of Muck to clean all this up, since they are just about the only Pokemon capable of consuming such harmful toxins and radiation and disposing of it safely. And finally, Magnezone could serve in the District 13 militia as advanced hovercrafts or drones used for warfare. And just like that, we've run through all 13 districts explored throughout the Hunger Games franchise. Hopefully this gives you an eye for the world building of the franchise if you're a fan, or maybe it just got you to think more critically about real-world functions for some Pokemon that have unique and useful abilities. As a bonus challenge, let me know in the comments below what you think the team for the capital would be. No matter what, I hope you enjoyed, and that you'll consider joining my Patreon if you want to help support the channel. Thank you to all my current patrons, especially Guardian patron Dayton Wehse. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time for more content.